Chapter 4. I'm telling you, boss, there is more here. Editor James Shelton rolls his eyes. He removes his glasses and places a hand on his forehead. If we get to the bottom of this whole massacre, then... Let me stop you, Sean. The look of surprise ran over the reporter's face. This is another mob hit. You know they've already threatened us once. James looks to his desk, his eyes moving over the potential stories. Or have you forgotten, Jonas? Look, I fought for that boy. I even took down one of the bosses years ago. I know. I've heard this a million times. Then you should know it. We publish the truth if it has a paper trail. If it's on television, why don't we beat everyone to the punch? Why report what everyone else reports? Sean, do you want to die? Oh, come on. One of the men found was a PI. That's news. James rubs his eyes. Yes, it is news. However, that is news that will get you killed. You've lived here longer than even me. You have seen how these thugs operate. The police don't even want to deal with them. A mob hit is half-heartedly looked into, and then it's swept under the rug. And well, Sean, I don't want to lose any more people to these killers. James stares at his reporter. Then he says, It doesn't matter. We are a small paper. There's tons of stories in this town without kicking a sleeping wolf. So we just look the other way, like every other paper and cop, and we report stories that hopefully will not get us killed. Your job is to find stories that people want to read about, not stories that will make them afraid to walk down the streets at night. And do you know why? Let me take a stab at it. Because if they're afraid to walk down the street, then they will be afraid to buy a paper, because that means they have to leave their houses. Now, if you can go on a campaign to get people to stay in their homes and subscribe, come on, boss. You can't make people stay in their homes. This is America, and people are not afraid as you think they are. Yeah, well, I for one do not want to risk it. Now, take David, tell him to get his camera, and go find a good front page story with beautiful pictures. Sean looks to the door, then back to the editor. How about, let me do a story on the PI. You know, what a loss for the city it was, and, you mean like a profile piece? Yeah, he was a war hero. Went in at 18, saved several soldiers that were pinned down in a firefight, and came home intact. James Shelton leans back in his wooden chair, folds his hand behind his head. I like it. Do a story about him. None of the other papers are reporting on that, just that 4 men that was killed. Go talk to friends and family, but leave the mob out of it. Just a profile. You got it, boss. I'll go grab Davy and head out. Sean. Yeah. Remember, stay away from the mob. Oh, come on, Jamie. Have I ever went against your orders? Then he was gone through the open door. Jamie? The editor mumbles. Again rubs his eyes. And almost all the time, he says, Sir. He looks up. Yes, Margaret. It's Maisel, sir? Oh, yeah, Maisel. What is it? Sir, there is a Mr. Charles Smith here to see you. Charles Smith, he thinks for a minute. Oh, wait, the media tycoon? Yeah, send him in. Mr. Shelton? James Shelton stands as the Englishman enters into the office. He extends a hand, and Charles takes it. Please, sit down, he says, gesturing to a chair. Thank you. I will try not to take too much of your time. Would you like some coffee or tea? Thank you, no. I would like to discuss some business concerning your newspaper. All right. James leans back into his seat. To be frank, I would like to partner with you. James takes a minute to look Charles over. He's dressed in a black top coat, black suit with gray tie, a black scarf resting upon his shoulders, all the while holding a black Homburg hat and walking stick resting against his knee. Me? Why me? I am one of the smallest papers in town. I know, and that is what I like. Not only are you small, you have backbone. I like backbone. You are not afraid to take on the crime that seems to run rampant here in the United States. Well, I know some of your recent troubles with the mob, but I have a philosophy. And what is that? If we get enough of the story out, then more people will know the truth. And the more people that know, the more the monsters have to step from the shadows and into the light. Yeah, but what happens when those monsters take aim at someone? Let's say me? That is where I come in. I am global. I have resources all over the world. Resources even the great Manfred Van Johnson does not have. And I will put it all to work for you. All right, for the sake of argument, but what do you get out of it? 30% partnership. Just 30%? Think about it before you answer. Imagine if the mob kills one person here, you report it, and it's read in Washington, D.C. You will be connected to a network of papers, radio, and even television. All of that? But what about my employees? Will be taken care of, trust me. Together, we can clean up the streets, the legal way. This all sounds good, and well, almost too good. Tell you what, here's my card. Think on it and give me a call. James takes the card. Thank you, Mr. Smith, I will. Please, call me Chuck, he says as he places his hat upon his head. He stands, turns, and walks out of the office. He smiles at Maisel as he passes her desk and then makes his way out and onto the steps and onto the sidewalk. He turns left and walks to where his car is sitting. Jennifer is standing beside the rear door. She opens it and he looks at her. Is he watching? Yes, from the window. Good. Do you think he'll do it? She asked. I believe so. He wants these streets cleaned up as much as we do. Besides, no one can find our guy better than a newspaper reporter. Now we wait. He slides into the rear seat of the sports car. I don't care, he says, flipping his newspaper over. Excuse me, boss. He looks up to the door of his office to where Mr. Wells is standing. Yes, Margaret, what is it? The slight woman of 30 shifted nervously from one foot to the other. Sir, Mr. C is calling an emergency meeting. Meeting? He never calls. Then Forrest Green looks to the back page headline of his paper. Businessman Manfred Van Johnson reemerges. Ah, I see. All right, get the details. He says, now looking back to his secretary. Yes, sir. She then is gone from the room. Forrest looks to his right to the man that is still sitting in the chair opposite him. What were you saying? Oh yeah. 3 of Lenny's men were killed. Oh yeah, I believe I said I don't care. Now get out of here while I plan for my meeting. Yes, sir. The man hurriedly leaves the room. Forrest looks back to his paper. This could be bad, real bad. She kneels to get a closer look at the bloodstains. So this is where it happened? He says from behind her. She looks up. Dylan? What are you doing here? Dylan stepped from behind a dumpster. He pulls his cigar from the corner of his mouth. When did you get here? She asked. Dylan looks at his wristwatch. About 30 minutes ago. News travels fast these days. Marla stands. He wasn't with these guys. She steps closer to Dylan. I know, Marla, and I am sorry. I really liked that kid. Yeah, me too. Other than my closest friend, he was my in with the city. How do you mean? Come on, Dylan. You know how things work. I am a woman in a city run and operated by men. I left the force because they wanted to stick me behind a desk. But I wanted to be out in the field, using my brain to catch the bad guys. I couldn't, so I left. She sighed heavily. Stone did not see me as a person who was meant to just roll over for her man and give him a litter of children. He saw me as a woman who... Her tears began to roll down her cheeks. Now he's gone. Dylan, I feel so alone. Dylan reaches a hand out and places it on her shoulder. Marla, he wasn't the only one that sees you that way. She looks up. Will you help me? Help you what? Find out who did this. I can't. I have more work than I can handle back home. For the moment anyway. Oh yeah, I heard about the girl you found. A lot is happening in the city now, so I can't stay here. But you have someone willing to help. Oh yeah? Who? Stanton. That was you? You sent him? I called him before I left Detroit. Dylan, he is an old man. Hey, we're nearly the same age. He reminds me of Dr. Watson. You know, as in Sherlock Holmes. Don't underestimate him. He is loyal and very brave. Remember, I met him during the war. Yeah, I know. And he does not see you as some helpless little girl. I know. Trust me, let him help. Dylan placed a hand on each of her shoulders now. Find who did this. But be careful because whoever it was is very dangerous. And they obviously do not care who gets in the way. He looks to the spot where Stone had once lay. I know. She then looks into Dylan's eyes. And I will find whoever it was, and they will pay. Good. That's what I like to hear. Call Stanton. You definitely need as many allies as you can get on this. She wipes the tears from her cheeks. All right, Dylan, I will. And thanks for coming. Hey, that's what friends are for.